Hello, everyone. How are you doing? And welcome to another episode of the Dr. Will Show, where we have the discussions that inform, entertain, and empower educators to be the change. I am your host, Dr. Will, and I am here today with two heavy hitters today, people from the FutureReady crew. I'm here with Dr. Sarah Thomas and Brianna Hodges. I did get that first name right, did I?
You did. Good job.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah.
Sarah's taking care of me. I see.
That's all right.
That's right.
So people, I've done some shows on coaching, and now we have FutureReady Coaching. And this has been an interest of mine because I am in my third year leading and managing a one-to-one Chromebook initiative at a couple of locations in our district. And one of the things I've had to learn and sort of transition myself into a role of a coach, because I was so just hell bent on this train moving. And I was out there running and pushing and dragging. And when I saw teachers fighting and clawing and, getting ready to throw some hands, I was like, woo. I said, we need to slow this thing down a little bit, I just said, metaphorically, nobody said meet me in the parking lot. That didn't happen. Glad of that. But the transition didn't go as quickly as I wanted it to go. So then I knew, okay, I really need to step back and coach up teachers and not be demanding that progress happens overnight. So it's great to have the two of you on the show tonight. So for those who are watching, will you please introduce yourself?
You want to go first?
Oh, sure. I am Brianna Hodges. I am the Director of Digital Learning for Stephenville ISD in Stephenville, Texas. And we are in our third year of our one-to-one implementation. And we leverage iPads, third grade through 12th grade. And and then we actually are really thrilled that we are very close to achieving that one-to-one with our pre-K through 2 as well. It wasn't necessarily we're really fortunate that we're able to repurpose a lot of the devices that we already had on campuses, and so that's helped us. But we also know that so basically we're in like a 3-to-1 at our lower campuses, and so that's kind of my little story there.
Very cool. And my name is Sarah Thomas, and I'm a regional technology coordinator in Maryland. And this is my second full year, which is coming to a close. So getting ready to start on year 3. But I work with in our district, we have about over 200 schools, and on my team, then I'm very fortunate and blessed to work with about 20 other individuals who support the technology integration needs across the district, aka county, because where we are, then district and county are synonymous. So personally, I work with a cluster of 13 schools. So very excited to go into year 3, and also excited to be part of the FutureReady team, and excited to chat with you, Dr. Will, and with Brianna.
I think that Sarah misspoke at the beginning. She did not introduce herself as Dr. Sarah Thomas. I think that we need to give a shout out for that huge accomplishment. I'm definitely so proud of your diligence and perseverance and all that you have done to continue forward with help and support us in all of our stuff as well. So
thank you so much. Very much appreciate it.
Put some respect on it.
That's right.
Oh, man.
So I want to first start out by asking you about the FutureReady Schools initiative. Some who will be listening to this and hopefully watching this may not know what all of that entails. So if you will, please explain its goals and focus.
Yeah, definitely. So Future Ready Schools is a fantastic initiative that helps K-12 public, private, and charter school leaders plan and implement personalized research-based digital learning strategies to help move all students forward so that they can reach their potential. So they're working with everybody. So there's a lot to it. There's national institutes that we've done this year. Prior to that, they were doing summits. There's an interactive planning dashboard, and I mean, it's really a movement that a lot of people are supporting across the nation. Back in 2015, 2016, then at the time, over 3,100 superintendents representing 19.2 million students had signed the Future Ready Pledge. So I mean, it's really it's really gaining a lot of support and a lot of momentum, and it's organized by the Alliance for Excellent Education. So they're based out in DC, and it's a national policy and advocacy organization. So really putting the heart of making sure that all students are supported and challenged and future ready.
Oh, Brianna, were you going to say something?
No, I think that I think Sarah did a great job of explaining that. I think one of the the only thing to piggyback on that, and it'll actually kind of take us to the next part, I think, is that one of the decisions was made this last year where initially, in order to be really active with Future Ready, you had to have superintendent who was there and who had signed the pledge and who was moving forward with all of that stuff. And this last year, it was kind of decided that for a variety of reasons, it might not always be that superintendent that's carrying that charge. And so I think that's one of the things that we were really excited to be a part of, is that they started to say, you know what, it's not just that superintendent that really is, let me back up. Yes, it's the superintendent who may be leading the charge or leading that initiative, but it takes a village to kind of support it. And just like you said, Dr. Will, when we started, of how do we, actually achieve true implementation. And so that was one of the things that we were really fortunate that this last year they decided to really kind of branch that into 5 strands. And so we have the Future Ready district leaders, the Future Ready principals, the Future Ready librarians, Future Ready coaches, and then the Future Ready IT or the tech side of it. And so each one of us were tasked. There's 2 advisors for each strand, and we all got to come together and really kind of look at what all it takes from our lens, and so that I thought that Future Ready we decided to honor everybody's contributions as they kind of move forward with that. And I think that really showed a lot of really kind of a lot of vision of how it truly does take a vision. It takes a village. It can't just be one person who's plowing through it and really just kind of leading the charge, if you will.
So the 2 of you are, again, Future Ready coaches. I just love that, Future Ready. What is the purpose of the work that you do?
I think that part of it is, like I said, it's really kind of understanding what that role of a coach is. I think, with my personal experience, we have a really fantastic superintendent. We have a great district leadership team. And when we approached this one-to-one, we took into account, we had every box checked and all of that. But one of the things that a lot of times, especially in initiatives of this magnitude, that we sometimes don't take into full account the support that's necessary for that teacher to really push forward as they go through the steps. And so I think that that's one of the things that I truly love the most about my role, is getting to be in classrooms every day, working with students every day, working with teachers every day, to really, kind of see that implementation come to life and understand both the struggles and the challenges, as well as the triumphs and the victories that we get to experience. And I think that that's, we wear many hats, just like everybody does. We get to be the cheerleaders, we get to be the problem solvers, we get to be the shoulders that people cry on, and the shoulders that And, I think that it's really important, for me, like with me and my team, we are all classroom teachers. We were former classroom teachers that have now stepped out of the classroom and are serving in this capacity. And so I think that was really important for us with looking at this, is that it really truly is that instructional position. It's not just, oh, you're really good at technology, so we want to bring you in. And I think that really gave a lot of credence and credibility to what we were trying to achieve. I'm sure both of you have had the similar experience of when you start the initiatives that teachers often kind of push back and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do my teaching. And then when I'm finished with that, then I'll do some of that, fancy, sparkly technology that you have on the other side. And I think it's been really valuable for us, speaking from personal experience of just watching our teachers understand the pedagogical practice of integration, and that's been super, super important, that we've really kind of driven with. And so I think that's like one of our major roles is how do you continue to keep instruction at the focus and not instructional technology. The technology comes after the instruction. How do we keep that instruction at the focus?
Gotcha.
Right, absolutely. I definitely want to second and third everything Brianna just said. Definitely keeping instruction at the focus. And also, I really love the point that you made about how everybody plays a role. Everyone plays a part. Like, I think that the gears that we're going to be talking about in a second, they're like an extended metaphor, because every spoke has like its own function in turning the wheel. So I really, really love that. So I just have to really give a shout out to everybody who's involved in that, in education in general, because we all work together in our roles to help move this huge wheel forward. Also, I wanted to just to thank the thought leaders that work with us as well, because they chimed in and they give their perspective on many of the things that we do. So definitely wanted to just to give them a nod as well. So yeah.
Awesome. So I went and I signed up for the Institute in NOLA. I was excited about it. Didn't ultimately get to go. But as I was going through the different strands for me to choose from, I said, okay, well, this doesn't fit me. I'm not a librarian. That didn't fit me, blah, blah. I said, okay, the coaches, that works well. And I started to look more into it. And Sarah mentioned earlier, and I saw the frameworks. And I was like, wow. Okay, this is nice. So what are the frameworks, and how are the frameworks used to grow teachers up?
Well, first, I'm sad that you didn't come to NOLA, because we could have met in person, Dr. Will, because I was there. But that's okay. That means there's another opportunity for us to actually shake hands and do all of that. But as far as what it is that our coaches framework does, we support educators that work in schools and districts across the country, and as that. The coaches really is kind of all encompassing. So it can be instructional technology facilitators. It can be instructional coaches. So maybe technology is not even in your quote unquote responsibilities. Teachers on special assignments or TOSAs, ed techs, technology coordinators, lead teachers, and anybody who's offering professional learning within the schools and districts. And so I think it is kind of that all encompassing umbrella. If you are working with teachers, educational leaders, or students, really anybody who's a learner, then we consider you a coach. You are helping drive that innovation and drive that learning experience for them, for others. And so oftentimes those people are cast as change agents, right? Because they are helping fulfill that vision of innovation. So they're often the ones who bring new ideas into the school, as well as around what platforms and tools we have available. So maybe that's a digital tool, or maybe that is a curriculum resource or pedagogical practice. one of the things that Sarah referenced earlier are the gears. And so every Future Ready framework, regardless of what strand you are in, consists of 8 gears. And I think that this was probably the thing I've taken more away from this experience of going through the gears, and really tried to play that into my my practice in my district, as well as just pretty much, honestly, and how we kind of go through our role within our lives of what they challenged us to do was to take those same 8 gears and look at it through our role. And so everybody, you didn't have the choice to say that gear doesn't apply to me. Everybody had to own it. Now your experience with the gear may look differently than others. So obviously the curriculum instruction and assessment gear may be much more on, we may as coaches see a whole lot more into that than maybe our IT staff would, but they still have to acknowledge that curriculum instruction and assessment is important, and what is their role in it. So I thought that was really interesting as our experience. Like Sarah said, we came together, I think it was last May, and all got to sit in a room and hem and haw and brainstorm and do all different kinds of things for 2 days. And then, like she mentioned, then our thought leaders, we have, depends upon the strand, but somewhere between 8 and 15 thought leaders per strand that then we shared out, what our experiences were, and then gathered their input on, from their region, from their district, from their experience to kind of make sure that we're really bringing it home. So we have 8, like I said, those 8 gears, and they are curriculum instruction and assessment. The next one is personalized professional learning. Then there's the robust infrastructure. There's budget and resources. There's community partnership. There's data and privacy. There's collaborative leadership. And then last but not least, there is use of space and time. And so our experience was to kind of go through that, like I said, look at the lens and then decide what our role was for each one of those. And we kind of tried to, it's hard, right? Because how do you boil down what you do into these lenses? And, so for us, we felt like curriculum instruction and assessment was probably our most powerful gear. That's where we spend more of our time. So we decided that our main responsibility there was to strengthen teacher instructional capacity. So how do we do that? We design and we model pedagogical practices and lessons, and really do a lot of that shoulder to shoulder in the trenches experience to really kind of bring that up. The next thing that we felt was most important was our personalized professional learning. So how do we actually work with our teachers to create learner driven innovative experiences that meet them where they're at? I think a lot of times we forget that, especially in initiatives, to acknowledge that our teachers may be at different points along that pathway. And so we got to meet them where they're at in order to help grow and flourish the way that we need to. Next, we said that a robust infrastructure ensures equitable access to connectivity, to digital devices, to information, to resources, to programming, and to services for everybody within our strategic vision. So, that we feel like that is upon us as instructional coaches to advocate for that, and to, kind of be the voice for our teachers as well as for our students who might not be, if they're not getting access, how do we get that? And how do we continue to push that forward for them? Budget and resources, obviously, how do we meet everybody's needs, and how do we do this within the budget? Community partnerships, that we seek two-way partnerships that allow the school and the community to support and benefit each other. And then data and privacy. So coaches model the effective use of data for reflection and instructional improvement, and then promote digital fluency amongst teachers and students. I know that this is a big driving point. It kind of circles back up to assessment of how do we take all of these platforms that we're using and take that data and then use it to improve instruction, instead of just, checking a box or doing any of that kind of stuff. Collaborative leadership, that we support a culture that fosters trust, collaboration, and a teamwork interpretation of shared vision. And then space and time. So how do we work collaboratively with administration and teachers to assess, rethink, and redesign traditional learning spaces that support this learning initiative? So that's a whole lot of stuff. It definitely sounds like a lot when I'm sitting there going through all of it. But yeah, I'm going to stop for a second and let Sarah talk, because I feel like I'm just kind of all over the place now. So there you go.
I thought that was that nailed it. That was everything that we do. And just every strand, as Brianna was saying, every strand has their own view of every gear. So so as coaches, then we do everything that Brianna just described. The librarians, they have their own lens that they view the framework through, with all of the gears, and seeing how that fits into their role. So again, it's everyone in their role working together towards a common vision. So that's the concept behind it.
Okay, so currently, you lead sessions at the FutureReady Institutes. Who should attend these institutes, particularly the FRS Coaches Strand, and what are your sessions like?
Sarah, you want to talk about Philly? I know you were in Philly. You want to take that one? Yeah,
definitely. So at the Friday Institute, we have some amazing partners there at the Friday Institute who lead the session. So when I was at Philly, Abby Futrell was leading the sessions. There's also Nancy Mangum and Jennifer Lagarde, and just amazing people, and just learning so much from all of them. It was very interactive. What I got out of Abby's session, because she was the one who was leading the one in Philadelphia, just amazing hands-on experience in terms of how to approach different topics. So she really modeled what a good instructional coach would do in a FutureReady, in regards to FutureReady. So there was a lot of just best practice being used. She wasn't lecturing at all. It was all, people were creating and learning through the process of creating, which is what we advocate for our students as well. So I mean, really, a learner is a learner. So it was ways to get us thinking and collaborating about what it means to be a FutureReady coach, and a FutureReady teacher leader. So so definitely just keeping all of those things in mind, and looking at ways to build capacity within all of our colleagues. So it was amazing. I loved it.
And I had, Abby wasn't able to come. Like I said, I was at NOLA, and Abby wasn't able to make it to that one. And so Nancy tagged in on that one, and very similar. So I love what Sarah was saying. It's really important for us, if we're going to be asking our teachers, and we're going to be advocating our teachers to personalize this experience and utilize interactive tools and things like that, that how do we leverage our own professional learning? And if we're just standing up there and lecturing, then what are we actually saying, and how are we are we actually walking the walk, or are we just saying, hey, you should do this, do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing. And, I think that was one of the things that was really important for Sarah and I whenever, we were kind of brainstorming some ideas with Abby and with Nancy of like, these are some really, this is important to us. Like, how do we do that? And oftentimes it's really difficult to showcase that through professional learning, because so frequently we default to, we're just going to have this like sit and get time because we're trying to cram as much of it into it as we can. But how can we really stand in front of teachers and say, I need to do it this way, but I don't want you to do it this way. So I think that was really important. To go to your question, Dr. Will, about who should come there, I think it's really fun to watch and to learn, because like the very first time that you come in, the breakout sessions, whenever you come into the strands, everybody gets to know each other and they find out who's in the room and different things like that. And so like in NOLA, we had curriculum people. We had CNIs that was, they were directors of CNI, or that they were curriculum specialists in some way. We had principals and assistant principals. So who maybe did not, maybe they came, like we had a couple who were there from the same districts. And so they kind of divided and conquered. And one of them went to the principal strand and one of them came to the instructional coaches strand. And I think that when we talked with them, when I asked, he basically said kind of similarly to what you mentioned at the beginning of, he felt like as they moved forward with this implementation that he saw himself now in a coaching role of like, how do I support my teachers? How can I best do this? Yes, my primary responsibility is as a principal. However, he wanted to grow his comfort level within working, one-on-one with those teachers to really kind of push that. We had instructional technologists and lead teachers. So it was really funny to go around because you hear a lot of people, like after they hear who all's there, the quote unquote big wigs of who all's there, then the teachers be like, well, I'm just a teacher. And you're like, holy cow, no, you're not just a teacher. Like you're here, you're you are obviously somebody that is going to be able to take this back. And we really, we focus on that capacity part of how do we make this successful in the campus? Well, we have a huge capacity of teachers, who are bought into this experience and who really passionately believe in it. And so that those are the ones that I get most excited about because they're going to, really kind of run with it and make that happen every day. So just kind of wanted to touch on that because I know sometimes it gets confusing, right? You're like, well, my job title isn't covered in here. So where do I go? Or, am I going to get benefit out of this? And, when you're looking at those future ready institutes and frameworks even. I mean, the frameworks are out there for everybody. Anybody can go on to FutureReady.org and look at all 5 frameworks and then, kind of think about what your personal goals are and what your personal challenges are within your responsibilities right then, and then look to see which one speaks into that practice. And maybe this year it's instructional coaches, and maybe next year it's principals, or whatever the case may be. Just so then that way you're getting that perspective as you go through.
So now I want to get to the hot grease.
Oh,
all right. What are some of the challenges you've heard from attendees in implementing technology at their schools? Look, I've had, like all of you, some of my teachers, we went one-to-one, they ran with it. They soaked up everything and would push me, hey, I'm doing this. What else you got for me? What else can I do? And then I had those who were like, hung a sign on the door, gone fishing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not here. I don't want to see you. Because they look at technology as a distraction, a waste of time. It's a toy. It's not for instruction. And for some of them, they're like, I've been doing this thing for a long time, buddy. I got this covered. I don't even want these Chromebooks in my classroom. How do you, in working with the teachers you work with at your sessions, how do you talk about getting teachers to buy in? And what have you heard from them in their reflections and talk about teachers being resistant to the influx of technology? Both of y'all said it at the same time.
That's
Right.
Well, I can definitely, I am very passionate about the idea of buying in. And I think that is really, really important. I'm glad that you asked that, because I think that that's one of the things that we have a tendency to do, right? We, especially when we cast vision or when we issue a challenge or whatever, like you said at the very beginning, Dr. Will, that you were like, I expected them to be like, here I am, I'm giving you this, like, you should be so excited about it. And instead they're looking at you with their arms crossed and they're like, I didn't ask for this, right? And so I think that it's we have to, just like we recommend that our teachers talk with students and not to students, I think it's really important that oftentimes our teachers feel like this was done to them. They didn't get a choice in it. They were just told, hey, guess what? We're getting this for you. And sometimes they're super excited about it, and sometimes they're not. They don't know how this impact them. Maybe they have varying reasons against it. So I think it's really important that we talk one-on-one with teachers, and really help them establish what their reason is for going one-to-one. I think that it's really important that we really and honor their reasons for that. Some of their reasons may be quote unquote superficial to some, of they just want efficiency and productivity, like, hey, I have to do all of this stuff all the time. There's no way I can, I'm filling out the same form 27 times. I've got all my grades that I have to get in, or whatever the case is. So you could get buy-in from that teacher by teaching them some technology opportunities that would get that for them. And that could be a huge win for those people who are just in this, no, look, I'm knocking it out of the park. I've always been good at what it is that I'm doing. Well, great. You're so good at what it is that you're doing that you're killing yourself grading all these papers and grading, carrying this mountain of paperwork home. So how do we change that for you? And then I think that it's again, like I said, it's allowing them to find their own why. I think there's a big, there's a distinguisher in my mind of the why versus my why. And I think from a district perspective, a lot of times we say that we know the why, like we provide the why to them of why we should do this, but that's very different than my why. And if I have a personal connection into what it is that I'm doing, I'm going to go deeper for that. It's the same thing that we ask with our students. And so we want, that kid who doesn't do his homework and who doesn't want to turn in any of his stuff, what do we challenge our teachers with? We'll find a way to connect him to that learning. So it's the same kind of thing for this.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. As you were talking, Brianna, I was thinking of Simon Sinek and start with the why. So definitely starting with that why, like, why is this, like, why, how can this help you? Like, why would you use this? So I think finding problems to solve is a good approach. Also, building upon strengths. Like, everyone wants to be valued. Everyone has something that they do well, something that they can bring to the table. So just seeing how technology can help them even share what they're doing with other people, so that so that they kind of have that knowledge that they're pouring into others. Because sometimes teaching can be a thankless job. Sometimes it can be a thankless job. But, most educators I know, we came into this profession because we want to teach people. We want to see that spark. We want them to learn. We want them to, we want to inspire. So even with them sharing what they do well, that can inspire someone else. That is an approach that I've seen work very well. So I would say finding the problems, as Brianna said, as well as having them share like what they're good at, what they can do well. And not everyone's a sharer. Not everyone is comfortable with putting themselves out there, so to speak. But the acknowledgement, instead of because a lot of times some people may feel disempowered. But knowing that someone sees that they are just, killing it in their own way, that can just mean all the difference in the world to many people who might be resistant.
And I would also echo, of the finding a problem to solve a lot of times our teachers, especially the ones that are killing it, right? They don't want the stuff that they're really good at to be touched. And so can you frame it sometimes of saying like, okay, then what's the thing that you hate most in life? Like, what is it about your job that just makes you want to scream and turn in your resignation? Like, can we focus on that part of it? Because then, then they don't have, they kind of don't have a dog in the fight, right? They already hate it. And so finding a better way for them is sometimes a little bit more safe in that way. And then it can sometimes turn that for them a little bit easier. But one of the things, it's funny that you say that, because we do in the FutureReady at the Institutes, one of the sessions with one of the breakouts in the FutureReady Coaches scenarios. And so we take the scenarios that we're often faced with of the teacher conversations, and how do you handle those? How do you diffuse those? How can you take your powers and use them for good as you're walking through some of that? And it's really great, because you usually have, like, the way that they do it is there's 3 people that are involved in that scenario. So there's one person who's just watching, and then there's a person who's playing the role of the teacher, and the person who's playing the role of the coach. And I think that third person of just watching is probably the most powerful piece, because then they get to give you feedback on, when this person said this, you replied with this, and this is how it changed the conversation, or whatever. And I think that is so important for us as we kind of establish those relationships, because so much of it is trust, of how do we, help those who sometimes don't want help, and help those who desperately want help and aren't sure how to put it in the right words.
I'm just trying to grow. I don't partake in anything stronger than a Coca-Cola. But I've had those nights where I was like, you've got to be kidding me, right? Because I do not come from a traditional educational background, was never a teacher. So I always think what is possible. Like, I'm not constrained by, it's always been done this way. And when I look at it, and one teacher once was saying, well, I can't do this. And she was an older person. And I'm like, well, you use a microwave, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you use technology in your everyday life. And if you can use that in your everyday life, you can use it in your classroom. It's just a matter of sort of your perception of it. And I like, how y'all coach them up, but I'm at a point now, I'm going to say this, okay? I'm at a point now, quite honestly, for those who are resistant. I'm like, why? If you've ever heard Tom Murray, with his keynote, and he talk about the vanishing of Blockbuster. And he plays this video where people are going into a Blockbuster like it's a museum. And they're like, people used to take home these movies on a Friday? I mean, let's be real, right? Like, technology is to the point to where, you know what I did? My bill got so high with Comcast, I took some boxes back. But then I got the Roku, right? So now it's like, oh my gosh, I'm getting all this stuff from the DVR on these boxes. I can do all this stuff. We got the Netflix going on. Uber, you got folks who've been driving cabs like Uber's messing up my money, right? So the technology is changing everything around us. But for some reason, K through 12 is like, well, I guess we'll get there. But they better hurry up. That's just how I feel, because you don't want to wake up one day and your school, for whatever reason, says, oh, by the way, we're not going to be a brick and mortar school in 3 years. We're planning to become a virtual school. What are you going to do? You got to eat. You got a mortgage, I assume. That's so, maybe I'm just out left center. Maybe I'm the bad guy in my thought process. You know what I'm saying? But for me, this innovation is here and it's not going anywhere. And trust me, teachers, if your school district is going to invest millions of dollars in infrastructure, switches, cabling, broadband, and then they're going to plop down all these money for these devices. They're not doing it for it to sit in your classroom. Okay, I'm done with my speech. I'm done with my speech. I'm just gonna be like, I'm done with mine. So before we go, what is your advice to those teachers who, whether it's on Twitter and they see something come through, or they may see Tom on a video somewhere and they're like, what is this Future Ready? And they see a Future Ready Institute is going to be popping up in their city. What is your advice to them in terms of going for it, checking it out, getting a feel for this learning experience?
I say go for it. I mean, I think that one of the things that I really and truly enjoy about Future Ready, I mean, there's a ton of organizations out there. I think that Future Ready has done a really fantastic job of not necessarily aligning to a specific thing that you can't then take back to your district. So whether whatever your device is, whatever your theory of learning is, whatever your grade content or your grade stuff, you can take these frameworks, these ideas around learning, and bring that back into your district, into your classroom, into your campus, and really kind of think through it. I think that when you attend one of them, it's sometimes we go to these conferences and we think that it's going to be a sales pitch, or it's going to be something that, okay, well, now we all have to buy this, or we have to, they're going to tell us these are the 4 platforms that you have to purchase in order for you to, get these kind of results out of your students or whatever. And there's not that. I think it's more of the thought process, and it really truly is helping you understand why it is that you're wanting to do that. And if you are wanting to be future ready, and if you are wanting these situations for your students, you have to be able to critically think about what it is you're and be willing to, like you were saying, Dr. Will, go for it and change it up, and not just say, well, this is what it's always been, or, you can't be, necessarily boxed in by those constraints that we have. And sometimes we have to be able to be around like-minded individuals, or people who we can draw inspiration from, in order to be able to come back into our own district and be that positive light there.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. The connections that you can make there are amazing. At the end of day one, then there is a networking time where everyone can kind of get together. And what I really love about it is that you have so many people in the same room, in the same place, that are going through the same things that you might be going through. So if you feel stuck, or if you feel like this is uncharted territory for you, chances are that somebody else is there who has experienced that. So and if nobody has, then y'all can figure something out together. So I just love opportunities. I love connecting, period. But there's something to be said about those face-to-face opportunities where you're able to come together. And I love the fact that it is also very nice price. It is free. So that way, that kind of makes it possible for a lot of people to attend that may not have otherwise been able to. So definitely taking advantage of that, and leveraging those connections, and come see us on Facebook. We have our Facebook group that's established for the Future Ready instructional coaches and teacher leaders, and we also have a Voxer group, and we have our hashtag on Twitter, #FutureReadyCoach. So definitely keep those connections going.
And yeah, echo that completely, because and that's one of the things that I know we do it for the Future Ready coaches. I'm not others, but we actually collect all of the, we provide a connection opportunity during the stream for people to say, like, here's where I am. This is my contact information. This is what I'm passionate about. These are the things that I'm really, interested in. We do a thing that's called Connector, Conduit, and Curator. And so it's like an opportunity where you can put, like, here's all the things that I'm, curator, like these are all the things that I'm looking for, that I found great information about, all that stuff. And then Connector is like, here's some connection that I can build for you, of like, here, let me connect you over here to this teacher who's killing it, or, this situation that we had over here. And then that conduit of like, here's this great pipeline of information that we're just trying to put that out there. And so I think that, that's one of the great things of even if you attended, like, there's a Future Ready Summit going, or Future Ready Institute going on right now. They're in Sacramento today. And so, all the people can now, benefit from the people who were both at Philly, as well as the ones who are building it at Sacramento. And so it just continues that web, that professional learning family, right, Sarah, as we kind of go through all of this. So I think it's just, it sometimes we have to jump, and like Sarah said, it's that's a free. So if you can just get yourself there, then and talk your district into letting you be there for a couple days, then I think it's going to be time very, very well spent for you to check it out, and you'll bring back so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you, the two of you, for being a guest on the show, Brianna and Dr. Sarah Thomas. People, you know how I do around here. This is going up on SoundCloud, iTunes. I need you to review, leave some messages. Holler at your boy. I'm going to be popping this on Facebook as well. I came back to Facebook. I had to bail. But I had someone on my show who used to work at Facebook, and she told me some great things about Zuckerberg and the culture there. So I said, well, let me go on back then. I'm going to be sharing this thing out there, people. We have some other shows coming up. So as always, people, invest in you, 80 you. Peace.